We may already have a champion, but we still got two great races worth of action here in the final round of the second season of the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship as they head to wine country, Sonoma, as the car goes upside down around into the wall. It's Tuesday night, it's touring car night here on RaceSpotTV, and our coverage will start in just one moment's time.
Welcome everybody. Race 1 beginning in just a minute's time here on live on RaceSpotTV, the Champions of the Future World Touring Car Championship. Michael Hall's wrapped up the championship. It's all a big dogfight there for the ladder positions. Ben Palmer and Daniel Hunt also here today trying to make sure they can hold P2 for themselves. Currently Ben Palmer ahead by 20 points as warm-up ticks over to 0 minutes and 0 seconds in a couple of moments time. Johnny Simon here alongside Will Vincent for race 1. Will, the wonderful Sonoma circuit, lots of major events here, IndyCar, NASCAR. Today though, it hosts these wonderful touring car races. Everybody's here for a bit of fun to end the season.
Oh yeah, and Sonoma's got a little bit of everything. It's got multiple track layouts, it's got some drivers crashing all over the place. It's even got a drag ship, Johnny. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's I'm just laughing at the amount of crashes we've seen here in the warm-up session, but all good. And as we focus our attention on the grid for this race at the moment, Ashley Sutton, the man as usual on pole position. What can he do in today's race? Can he win? Can he maybe support Michael Hall to get another win in this championship? Who knows? His teammate there alongside him on the front row. Daniel Hunt and Magic Sagovic there on the second row. Pete Newman and Steve Hefford line row 3. Stephen Burke and Ben Palmer there in fourth. Ben Palmer fighting with Dan Hunt as well for that second position in the championship. And then wrapping out the top 10, Mars Glutzley and Liam Atkins there. And the rest of your grid on your screen as the timer ticks with about 10 seconds to go until we get things underway for the formation lap here for race 1 as usual. And we're hoping to see some incredible racing this afternoon, Will. Lots of undulation around this circuit. We know how hard it is to set up the car and find that good balance to make sure you can indeed win a race with a nice and comfortable car.
Yeah, we're actually having a look from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design. We did just get a look there at that drag strip I was mentioning a moment ago. You can actually see it. It runs pretty much perpendicular actually alongside the race truck that you see now. A couple of these races actually use that drag strip in some hosted races, Johnny, but also it does kind of merge back into the racetrack on the exit of turn number 5. That is going to be the key corner here, I think, today. Not turn 1, not turn 2, or turn 3 or 3B, whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to be that 180 degrees left-hander corner that will determine who will be a winner in both race 1 and race 2.
Certainly, and logic today, I don't know, turn 4A turns into turn 7A. Nonetheless, we're here racing. That's all that matters for the moment. The drivers following that pace car, so Ashley Sutton just trying to bide his time and maybe support Michael Hall, his teammate as well. It's what can CQR do today? They've already wrapped up the team's championship quite a few rounds ago. And it's been quite a dominant championship for them, Will. And I mean, having guys like Ashley Sutton and Michael Hall on your team will certainly bring that towards it.
Yeah, we're actually riding along board now with that driver of Michael Hall in that number 3 CQR car. But, yeah, I think, you know what, the first 2 seasons of this, it's been CQR domination. If you're someone else in a CQR car, then you've got to start thinking, wait a minute, when's it going to be my go? Especially that 226 machine of Mars Gillespie. He might well be using this race to launch himself towards next season's championship.
Let's see what Miles Kletzer can do. Obviously developing himself within that team. Racing today, starting from 9th on the grid. And behind him, Liam Atkins as well. He's had some good results this season, but a little bit inconsistent. What can he achieve for this race as the pace car will pull into the pits there at the final hairpin of the circuit. And, well, there we go. Dan Hunt is really eager to get proceedings underway for the moment. And Ashley Sutton will wrap around this final hairpin, turn 11. He'll put the pedal to the metal and get things going. And he does right now, as the green flag will go green right now, and the race begins as Ashley Sutton leads away from Michael Hall. Dan Hunt has to settle in for P3. Magic Sagovic as well. So everybody into formation for the start at the moment as they head towards turn 1, 2, and then 3 there at the moment. Ashley Sutton getting turn 1 wide, and that's allowed Michael Hall alongside him. And I think Michael Hall might indeed have the lead for the moment. He does. Sutton having to defend from Dan Blake. Not the best start at the moment. Oh, Dan Hunt runs a little bit wide, and I think Sagovic is too far behind to capitalize on that. But a bit of a mistake there, Will, from Ashley Sutton. Uncharacteristic from him, and he's given up the lead to his teammate, almost spinning off the circuit.
Yeah, he does try and come back across though, and this is that run now towards the S section of the racetrack. We'll go back on board of. This is not what we expect to see from Ashley Sutton. Yes, Hall is a champion this season, but last season it was all about that driver of Ashley Sutton. He was quite simply phenomenal. This is not what we expect by him at all, Johnny.
No, certainly not near the back of the pack, I think, as well. Steve Hebbert having to defend there from Robert Plumley near the back. I believe that is Robert Plumley. No, it might actually be Ben Palmer. So Ben Palmer trying to get there as the leader still slicing and dicing near the front. Ashley Sutton running wide. Ben Palmer up the inside, and he gets that position. So good job there from Ben Palmer as the first lap actually completes for the moment. So we'll have a look at the results for the first lap of the race. So it is indeed Michael Hall leading away from Ashley Sutton, Dan Hunt in 3rd position, Magic Sakovic there in 4th, Pete Newman, Ben Palmer, Steve Hefford, Stephen Burke, Miles Klutzy staying in his position at the start, and Liam Atkins as well maintaining 10th position. Pretty reasonable start, not much collisions as we've seen in other rounds, Will, but that's good to see some clean racing.
It is, and I tell you what, I think Dan Hunt's got a great opportunity now. Sutton, that first run through turn 1, pushing wide. He's pushing wide all over the place. I don't think his tyres are up to temperature yet, and I think he's being aggressive on strategy. Dan Hunt, I think, has the opportunity now to try and find a way past. But if he doesn't do that in the next lap or so, he'll lose that opportunity. Because we know one thing about Ashley Sutton is he's like a good wine. He gets better as time progresses. Yep,
wine. So definitely vino in Italian, I believe. If I pronounce that wrong, don't flame me, Italians, as we head towards the hairpin for the second time around here on the second lap of the race. Michael Hall's really... Oh, look at that bump. Look at that. So Dan Hunt giving Ashley Sutton a little love tap, and that's going to bring him alongside. So pretty much some NASCAR tactics there, reasonable at this circuit as well. So learning something from those guys in those stock cars. Dan Hunt clipping the wall as well on the outside as they head towards lap 3 for the moment. Is he going to stick it up the outside or inside? No. Very difficult here. He forces Ashley Sutton into a mistake, collecting lots of curb. It's unsettled the car. So Ashley Sutton on the back foot, as you talked about, Will. Dan Hunt doing exactly what he needs to do, pressurizing Ashley early, and for the moment it seems to be paying off. The only difference is he's not in front of that CQR driver.
He's not. He's still there in that 3rd position, and he's actually lost a bit of time this time around. It'll be interesting to know whether or not he's got any damage to the front end of that car, because that was, we saw it on the replay, a pretty hard bump there. And well, we'll have a look in the rear of Ashley, and it does look as though there is a little bit of crumpling to the front end of that car. These cars, of course, they are front engine, Johnny. That does mean that if you get too much damage to that front end, it will disrupt the airflow. You rely on those front tyres. And, well, Sutton, I think, dodged a bullet there because of Hunt's aggression.
Certainly these Kia Optimas, we love them, brings us incredible racing, 375 horsepower, 4-cylinder engines, believe it or not, 6-speed gearbox, and as they wrap around the hairpin once again, we're going to see lots of side-by-side action. Let's have a look down the field as the leaders still battle. Everybody else has sort of settled into position. Ben Palmer up 2 positions so far in the race, started in 8th, currently in 6th. Steve Heffer dropped a position, as well as Stephen Burke, so Ben Palmer are capitalizing on that for the moment. Miles Klutzley still in 9th, can't really get up close to Stephen Burke in front. For the moment though, the leaders still Dan Hunt. He's starting to fall back from Ashley Sutton, and I think his chance might be lost, because Ashley's now starting to pressure his teammate Michael Hall.
Yeah, as we're actually looking at the moment, Robert Plumley versus Dan Blake. This is one well outside your top 10 for the time being, but a nice little scrap going on here. The field you just alluded to, it has started to get itself settled down. Ben Palmer, I think Palmer's really got to start pushing now. He's in one of the most colourful cars as he takes 2 wheels right over those curbs. I have got to ask a question. Do you think Ben Palmer has just decided, you know what, for a couple of weeks now, we've talked about how those the Paramax team are the most colourful team. They thought, my turn, I'm going to be the most colourful one now. Because Ben Palmer's car, this race, looks incredibly luminous.
Yeah, it does. Nice job to see that. Some art going on as well. Reminds me of the BMW art car as well from Le Mans. So good job from Ben Palmer to sport that. He's still trying to get in front though of Pete Newman in front. He's getting ever so closer now as we have 15 minutes remaining in the race. The top 3 battles getting close as well, but still no position changes. Ashley Sutton's under pressure though. I want to see Ashley Sutton through turn 4 on the exit. He maximizes the track limits, almost hitting the wall as they come through for another time around through the blind apexes of 3, and then heading towards turn 4, downhill as well, trying to fight the car. None of them really do, so good balance so far. Ashley Sutton really run it wide again. He does, almost getting those tires on the outside wheel, and if he keeps playing with fire like that, we might actually see him clip the wall.
Yeah, and that's this section of the racetrack where Sutton is the worst. He's having it every single lap around there. It's just behind him actually. I'm not sure if that's lap traffic, but no, Ben Palmer's right up towards the rear now of Pete Newman. This is working themselves through the S's now, and Palmer from nowhere right in the back of Newman. So Sutton under pressure, Newman under pressure. These are 2 guys who are both very good at, you know, keeping themselves focused, but it does look as though they are both being rattled just a little bit today.
Yeah, Ben Palmer now, a great run on Pete Newman, runs a bit wide, trying to maybe stick it up the inside, and Pete Newman defends. Wonderful job. He might run wide at the apex. That's going to allow a good drive for Ben Palmer, but it's going to be very difficult to pass at turn 1. Palmer not using the slipstream. Now he ducks into it as they head towards 13.5 minutes remaining in this race. Ben Palmer still too far behind for a move at turn 1. He needs this though. He's fighting with Dan Hunt there in P3. We know there's 1 drop round in the championship, and so far Dan Hunt's had that worst round, so Ben Palmer really has his work cut out for him today as he tries to hopefully pass Pete Newman sometime soon and make his way through the field.
Yeah, and there you can see Radl on board now with Ben Palmer in that number 6 car. This is a good shot actually. You can see from the roof just how close these guys are, and also how close they were to the wall that time by Johnny.
So doing an Ashley Sutton there, and he's played with more fire than Ashley Sutton. So Ashley is still in P2, he's still surviving. So is Ben Palmer, trying to really know where Pete Newman is struggling. He struggles on that exit of the corners coming up for the moment. So it gets him a good run towards the hairpin turn 11. So we'll see coming out of turn 10 now coming up. So they go through 9 and 10. Can Pete Newman get it right? Apply, or misses the apex quite significantly. Ben Palmer gets the throttle on. Will he stick it up the inside? And no, he's way too far back. But Pete Newman runs very deep, and I think that's just given this, it's gifted the position even to Ben Palmer. Ben Palmer, as easy as that, up into P5 as the top 4 are within 1.3 seconds of each other.
Yeah, and Dan Hunt there. We'll get a replay of the pass with Newman Palmer in a moment, because Dan Hunt all over the rear once again of that CQR car. Now, we talk about this series, Johnny. You can be aggressive. And no one seems to mind the aggressiveness, but I would use the chrome horn in turn number 3 because we saw it work almost successfully down the final corner. But turn 3 and 4, if you are going to be aggressive, that is the place I think to do it, or the corner they just worked themselves through now, because that's the point. This is where Sutton is the weakest on the racetrack, and it's very easy, I think, that way to get drivers just a little bit too wide and they'll end up clobbering the wall, and you can be mind game aggressive there.
Yeah, so it's all about mental games, racing, trying to play with the driver's mind in front. So far, Dan Hunt is doing a mediocre job of it. He needs to do a little bit more to get inside Ashley Sutton's head. But so far, this lap, Ashley pushing, and they've all pretty much settled into formation for the moment. Magic Sagovic still too far behind. Dan Hunt carrying lots of speed. Really, that's what you need to do. Get your car right into the mirrors of the driver in front. Ashley Sutton, I think, clipping the wall maybe on the exit. It was very close. So far, this leading battle with 11 minutes remaining in this race, we don't know which driver is going to end out on top. For the moment, Michael Hall's there, but any one mistake will drop you a few seconds. So far, though, lots of drivers really pushing to the limit. You see Ashley Sutton taking lots of curb through turn 1 and 2, and as they head towards 3 and 4, really need to be aggressive through this part of the circuit, as you said. And so far, Ashley Sutton's lines have been perfect, and he keeps second position for another lap.
Don't forget, it's 3A, 3B. Just because of the fact we're at Sonoma and they don't know how to count. It's as simple as that. But yeah, you're right. And I've got a question here. Maybe Hall will let Sutton pass, because Hall's got nothing to lose now. He's the champion. He could crash out of both races and be the champion. What better way to repay your teammate for the support they've given you all season than be that buffer, allow Sutton to get some points and secure his place in the championship. And I mean, on the other side of that though, Sutton, we know he wants to win out. He wants to be that driver who doesn't get the stuff given to him. Now, you've got a bit of a more dilemma, those two CQR cars out front. If you're Dan Hunt, thinking, give myself another 5 minutes, then maybe I'll start, being a little bit more aggressive into these corners.
Certainly, as you talked about, Ashley Sutton getting better as the race goes on. Halfway through race 1, 20 minutes of action as usual. We have a 35-minute race 2 coming up, reverse grid. One pit stop to be made in that one as the drivers head towards, as I mentioned, less than 10 minutes to go. The gap between Ashley Sutton and Michael Hall, 0.2 of a second as they head towards 3A and 3B, and then he tries to get in the slipstream. Michael Hall going defensive already through 4 for the moment. Ashley Sutton giving his teammate a tap. He almost loses the car. It's incredibly close there, and Michael Hall keeps that position. Here we go. Ashley Sutton taking a wide line. He's gained so much time in his teammate. Can Dan Hunt capitalize on this through the S's now? It's going to be so difficult to keep it together for these drivers. We know how experienced they are, and this is incredible racing so far already in the middle part of the race.
Oh yeah, this is great. This is great. By the way, Dan Blake, not Dan Hunt, Dan Blake is all the way down in P number 17. He's made himself a pit stop. He made a bit of a boo-boo with his car. Also, Paul Smith. So basically, if you're a RaceSpotTV commentator today, Johnny, you're sucking. Because Dan and Paul, two RaceSpotTV commentators, ruined the field as Dan Hunt has just gone past Ashley Sutton.
Yeah, at the hairpin. So Ashley Sutton running wide, giving Dan Hunt a little opportunity, and so far they're going to be side by side through turn 1. Can Dan Hunt keep it together? He's going to have the inside line into the next couple of corners. No, Ashley Sutton very confident. He's going to carry so much more apex speed. Gets the car stopped in time. That's great defending from Ashley Sutton. For the moment though, Dan Hunt not giving up on this, still trying to get it outside, but those outside lines in these corners, it's just off camber, and Dan Hunt can't get back in front, can't get his nose in front of Ashley Sutton, because Ashley Sutton has that camber. He can carry so much more apex speed. At the same time, this has allowed Michael Hall, our championship winner for season 2, give a little bit of a buffer, 1.6 seconds from these duo.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note, actually, this all started because of the fact that Ashley Sutton was trying to make a late lunge down to the inside of his own teammate. Couldn't do so. Moved to the outside last moment. That allowed Dan Hunt to look down to the inside, but Sutton goes off that time by... This will allow Hunt to almost get a clear run. This will be down in towards a hairpin. And, well, Johnny, this is Ashley Sutton, not as we see him. And also, Magic is all right there as well. Now, Sutton could lose 2 positions by Magic. Looking to the outside of Dan Hunt here. And... well, I don't think Magic needed to have done it there. He's still got 7 minutes of this race to go. Clearly, what he should do is both get yourself past Sutton. And Magic just lost himself an opportunity there. And that's 6 tenths of a second now that he's falling behind Dan Hunt. And I know he'll catch it back up, but sloppy move there by Magic.
Yeah, he will definitely catch back up as those two guys in P2 and P3 battle hard with 7 minutes remaining in this race. Dan Hunt still pushing the car. Sagovich staying patient for the moment. Sutton running off the track as well. Will that allow Dan Hunt into second place? No, it doesn't. Sutton keeping it together. Look at this composure. It looks like he's really struggling. At the same time, he's keeping the car together. Great driving and great stuff as Sutton might... Oh, he almost has a bit of a technical issue. No, everything's all sorted for him. And for the moment, though, I think we look at DQ points as well, Will, so this will be important come the end of the race.
Yeah, and I've seen Sutton go off track now a good couple of times. He's also been barged a couple of times in this race. Now, if you're Dan Hunt, you're just doing that mental calculator. It's like, well, how hard do I need to push him? Because the Dan Hunt's looking down to the outside, down towards the hairpin, he will go, and well, Sutton's going to have to go ultra defensive round the inside. Hunt trying to get himself round the outside, can't make it work. But I think Hunt is giving up and trying to get past on raw pace. I think he's forcing Sutton into a mistake here, knowing that eventually Sutton will go off track too many times, DQ points will come in, he'll be out the race.
It could certainly be the case. For the moment, though, if Dan Hunt is indeed doing that, he's going to have no chance at Michael Hall there in the lead, 2.4 seconds in front of this battle. So Ashley Sutton doing the job for his teammate. We know he's been absent from a few rounds. That's why he's not champion. Michael Hall not taking away from him. He's done a great job as Dan Hunt runs way off the track. Can Magic Sagovich? He's too far behind. Magic really needs to be there, Will, to capitalize on this. So far, though, he's too far behind, and he's just lost 2 chances now to get in front of this duo battling. And, well, he's just lacked that extra step that he needs, the extra spring to get into those podium positions.
I'm going to give you a lesson. It's called Overtaking 101. You do it one at a time, and you focus every single pass on the driver ahead. Magic isn't thinking about that. He's thinking about getting past Sutton up into P2. He can't think about winning the race now. I mean, he's 4 seconds up the road. It's not going to happen. But I think he needs to start focusing on getting past Hunt, settling into a rhythm, and getting past Sutton. Now that field is spread out enough, he can do that. Behind, by the way, Ben Palmer's 2 seconds now ahead of Pete Newman. Palmer's doing awesome, but he's still got a way to go. He is, though, within 2 seconds now of Magic.
Yeah, he is indeed. So last time around, it was almost identical lap times for Ben Palmer and Magic Sagovich. This time around, 9 tenths actually gained for Ben Palmer and Magic Sagovich in front. If he does that again, he'll be in front come the end of the race. So we'll watch those lap times for you as Ben Palmer creeps into those second, third and fourth battling for the moment. Michael Hall's pretty much got the lead done and dusted unless he makes some fatal error. For the moment, though, the field's spreading out, as you said. Now it's time for Magic Sagovich to capitalize on this, try and pass drivers and pick them off one by one. So it goes to show, in only a 20-minute sprint race, your mentality can change from minute to minute.
Yeah. And you've got to always play that role. Am I playing defense or am I playing offense? And I so often compare motorsports to the NFL, and everyone laughs at me. But actually, you cannot defend and be offensive at the same time. You are clearly doing one defined role. And I think now that Sutton and Hunt are both attacking, as is Magic Sagovich. In the next 3 minutes of this race, that will change, and I think that Sutton will have to go back on defense again. Last time by, he was 4 tenths per second faster than his teammate. As he worked himself past the start-finish line again, Michael Hall is going to do himself a 1 minute 15.446. Actually starting at 1:15.7, so actually he was slower that last time by. Hunt, the fastest driver of your top 3 by some margin, as Hunt is now right back on the rear of Sutton once again.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. Actually, Sutton at turn 1 clipping the inside wall. He turned in way too early, so another small mistake from the very strong Ashley Sutton. And at the moment, that's allowed Dan Hunt back into the clutches, sniffing that second position in the race. Dan Hunt will still be pleased, though, if he gets on the podium, but I don't think he might be as pleased as he would be if he could have taken that win today. It's taken him way too long to get in front of the first CQR he needs to pick off, the first CQR car he needs to pick off. Now, if he is indeed going to win the race, it's going to be quite optimistic for Dan Hunt. Magic Sagovich has fallen behind 2.5 seconds from that duo, and 4 tenths behind him is Ben Palmer. What can Ben Palmer do in these latter stages to get in front of Magic? It seems he's struggling in the latter stages of the race.
Yeah, it looks like he's burnt his tyres out. We'll get a great indication through here. Look at Ben Palmer getting a much better run out the corners. They head themselves down in towards the hairpin. Now, there'll be 2 laps to go this time by, but only just. As we'll just show you there is Michael Hall. He's crossed the start-finish line. There will be 2 laps to go of this motor race, and Ben Palmer all over the rear of Magic. By the way, 2 questions, Shonny. Number 1, why does every North American road course track insist on having a soft turn 1? And then secondly, did you figure out as Ben Palmer's going to go down to the inside and he will pass there? Magic Sagovich, no he won't. Did you figure out the wine reference?
No.
Oh,
Ben
Palmer!
Palmer actually... Oh, so he's lost it almost. Kept it together now with 2 minutes remaining. Does that allow Pete Newman in front? Palmer going defensive, saying to Newman, no, I've got P5 to myself. So now Ben Palmer still into 5th position. He's just lost an opportunity at 4th. And we'll talk about that wine reference a little bit later. Pete Newman, though, for the moment, trying to capitalize on that mistake from Ben Palmer. Ben Palmer currently 2nd in the championship. We know battling with Dan Hunt. For the moment, Dan Hunt has the bragging rights for this race 1 here at Sonoma for the final round of the Champions of the Future World Touring Car Championship, as Michael Hall will come across the line very, very shortly, and he will begin most likely the final lap of the race. I think it will definitely indeed as we tick over. It's about 1 minute and 15 seconds a lap so far, and it's 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. So the white flag goes for Michael Hall, and as the positions are not done and dusted, anybody can make a mistake on the final lap. We know that the race is not over until the drivers cross the line and get that checkered flag.
Yeah, Miles Coletti just lost a position, though, to Robert Plumney. Give you an update on Ben Palmer, 1.5 seconds back, 1 lap to go. It's not going to happen now, Johnny, simple as that.
Yeah, so that's pretty much gone. Oh, so for the moment, though, actually, as Michael Hall was 7/10 slower last time around, I think he's just sort of playing it safe for the final lap. Ashley Sutton is not doing that, getting right up close to the tyre barriers once again, as Dan Hunt still trying to push. So Dan Hunt not giving up until the timer ticks 0. 25 seconds remaining. This is the final lap for sure, as Michael Hall still just coasting through this final lap. It's getting ever so close. I'm afraid if Michael Hall, hopefully he has enough fuel or something, because it seems like hopefully he's just coasting, will as they approach the final couple of corners for the race. Ashley Sutton making a mistake. Will that allow Dan Hunt an opportunity at P2 for the moment? Dan Hunt having a look at the inside, switches back to the outside. Michael Hall wrapping the hairpin. Can Dan Hunt get the run out of it? He doesn't give Ashley Sutton a wrap around this time, and Michael Hall will take the win for race 1. Good job from our championship winner. Ashley Sutton keeps 2nd, and wrapping out the podium is Dan Hunt. Magic Sagovich will come home in 4th. 5 seconds behind, though. He's lost lots of time in the final stages of the race. There's Ben Palmer, I think. Yeah, so Ben Palmer comes home in 5th position. And then we have Pete Newman and I believe Stephen Burke. And no, actually, so I think Ben Palmer might have lost it. He's finished in 7th. So Pete Newman in 5th, Stephen Burke 6th, Ben Palmer 7th. We have Steve Hefford 8th. And then coming home in 9th and 10th, Robert Plumley and Miles Klutzy. But they're on the final lap, Will. Ben Palmer losing those 2 positions from 5th, dropping back to 7th.
Yeah, we're going to try and figure out what happened to Ben Palmer, actually. And again, fuel. Always a thing at this racetrack. And you notice how close we were. We didn't do an extra lap. That's a thing, Johnny. I'm not sure whether Palmer went wide. He went well wide. He smacked the wall down the final lap of the race. That's why he lost 2 positions. He came back on. That almost reminded me of Schumacher back in '94, the way he came back on. Took the defensive line, lost himself 1-2 positions, almost lost himself a 3rd. Well, Palmer has been under pressure here today. He knows it's a drop ramp. He knows things need to go his way. And I think Palmer is just cracking. Just a tiny, incy-wincy little bit there as we get a look from our aerial coverage at the incident once again.
Yeah, so battling for 2nd position in the championship, Ben Palmer under pressure, not doing the best job to end the race. He was slowly making his way up through the field, started in 8th, was in as high as 5th position. Having a look at Magic Sagovich, for the moment, Ben Palmer, we see they're running wide, making a mistake, and allowing Pete Newman and Stephen Burke up into 5th and 6th positions for the moment. Michael Hall wins, a 1 second gap to teammate Ashley Sutton. A very clean win for him, Will, and we know that's why he's champion this season. He's capitalized on those, having his teammate not there, as well as being dominant throughout every single race. And I believe we'll look at the grid for you now. The results for you. From race 1, the 20-minute sprint race, Michael Hall there in the lead, away from Ashley Sutton. Dan Hunt wraps out the podium. Magic Sagovich comes home in 4th. Pete Newman in 5th. Stephen Burke and Ben Palmer very close. We know Palmer making that mistake on the final lap comes home in 6th and 7th respectively. Steve Hefford there in 8th, dropping 2 positions from in starting position. Robert Plumley started in 14th, comes home in 9th. A good job from him. And Miles Klutzy rounds out the top 10. Liam Atkins, Alex Bristow, Patrice Langley, Roy Ververke, Ella Stevens, Dan Blake and Paul Smith rounding out the rest of the finishers. Matthew Bunn, unfortunately, did not finish that race. And, well, it's very good to see the drivers still dicing. We have an 18-car field, Will, and plenty of drivers here today still to fight for those wins.
Yeah, and you know what the funniest thing is going to be, Johnny? Race number 2, we're going to talk about 2 RaceSpotTV commentators on the front row of the grid for that reverse grid. That's going to be funny, shall we say. Dan Blake, you know, of course, real-life racing driver, great driver. Paul Smith, also great driver. They both seem to have had tough race number 1s. Now, they can use race number 2 to try and get themselves back through. But if you look at that driver, he's going to be starting in P3 for race 2. He's a driver, controversial is a nice way of saying it, but darn fast. It's Ellis Stevens. It'll be very interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, Ellis Stevens had some strong rounds. Monza was his best round this season. He's capitalised on lots of points, scoring 120 there. His worst round in Sebring, only scoring 12. So he's been here for every round, still racing hard, working hard. So at the moment, it's going to be very interesting. As you said, a RaceSpotTV front row. What can Dan Blake and Paul Smith do on the front row for race 2? At the moment, though, lacking pace though in race 1. Hopefully they can maybe they're just coasting, getting some practice in for race 2.
Yeah, and it's going to be fascinating to see that one. We're going to step aside for just 1 minute. Then we're going to have the RaceSpotTV mid-race show brought to you by And One Design. After these messages, you're watching RaceSpotTV. We're the greatest sim racing broadcaster in the world. Watch us.
It's been a very long off-season. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing, from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by Yakoda from the front. They're packing up behind number 1. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12-hour, we'll do the Watkins Glen 6-hour, several other races along there. And then, of course, the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real-world racers, and they compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big-name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the ball, gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out foul at the front of the field!
The easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iracing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts. You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the RaceSpotTV mid-race show, brought to you by And One Design from the final week of competition, the World Touring Car Championship, Champions of the Future, Ashley Sutton, I've done this for 2 seasons, and I still can't get words out of my mouth.
Well, that's not my problem, Will. That's what I'm going to say.
That's all right. Race number 1, P number 2. It looked as though you were struggling a little bit with the tyres there, especially down at turns 5 and 6.
Yeah, really struggling, to be fair. I managed to get up to the back of Mike, and we had a little bit of a tussle for a lap, and then it literally, like, someone flicked a light switch, and that's what let him get away. I really struggled, and it sort of backed us, well, second to fourth, but backed us all up together, and I sort of just had to regroup, let the tyres cool down and go again, sort of thing, and just try and break the gap to Dan. So yeah, I struggled a little bit more, I think, than anyone else.
You do get fast lap of the race. It'll be interesting to see what happens in race number 2. Michael Hall, congratulations! You won the race.
Thanks.
Talk us through it. Was it quick? Was it difficult? Was it, especially those first couple of laps, because Sutton did almost barge you out the way at one point.
Yeah, he did. I'm not happy about that, to be honest. Nah, I'm joking. Yeah, it was a good race. I changed the setup a bit from qualifying, so I weren't too sure about it. But the tyres seemed to hold on a bit better than Ash's, so it was a good race.
Well done to you, winning race number 1, of course, starting from the rear of the field in race number 2, almost. Ben Palmer, hey, how you doing? You know that if you hit a tyre barrier, you are going to damage your car, especially in the last lap when there's people right behind you.
Yeah, well, you know, I locked the arm, didn't lock it hard enough, and that's what happened.
Well, race number 2, are you going to try your best to keep out of the wall?
Yeah, yeah, I think I might win it.
Who knows? You start mid-pack, it's going to be a tough one. Of course, you need the points. So Ben Palmer, he will be starting down and around mid-pack for race number 2. And we finally got the chance to talk to Matthew Bunn. Matthew Bunn, congratulations! You're the only driver not to have finished the race.
Woo!
What happened?
Oh, I was doing really well actually. I was coming up to 9th and 10th place. Had good pace, but I got DC'd. My internet shit.
Well, race number 2, we'll have some fun trying to see if you can work yourself through the field, trying to get yourself a decent starting position, finishing position even. Matthew Bunn, that concludes, Johnny, the world's quickest RaceSpotTV mid-racer. I feel like we're the NFL on CBS, but we might have given more information.
Hopefully we did. And it's good to get an insight into the drivers' minds. Very casual through the final race of the season. The battle for the lead so close throughout the race, and it's good to see the drivers still fighting for the wins in these final stages. I know Ben Palmer's listening to me. He's nailed the pit stop phases quite well. What can he do in race 2? It's going to be interesting to see as well. But those CQR guys, Ashley Sutton and Michael Hall, they're always dominant, coming through from the back of the pack. What will they do? We know our RaceSpotTV guys, Dan Blake and Paul Smith, will head that field on the front row for race 2. It's going to be very interesting as they make that compulsory pit stop in this reverse grid race.
Yeah, we'll see that one after these messages. You're watching RaceSpotTV, home of the 2015 RS.com Indianapolis 500. We'll be back. Just one moment.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
has officially begun.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time. The following message is to the Global Sim Racing channel. Even if it's foggy, we can still broadcast races. Because we're RaceSpotTV and we're bloody awesome. Well, the clouds are coming. It's foggy here at Sonoma Raceway, Wine County, for the final round, the final race of the Season 2 Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship. Wilkinson along with Johnny Simone. We are ready for 35 minutes worth of racing. Johnny, it's foggy. That means one thing. Turn number one is going to be an absolute blast.
Yeah, I can't see a thing at the moment, and drivers are having some fun as well in the warm-up towards this race. Race 2, we know as usual, the 35 minutes will, and well, we have to make that one compulsory pit stop. Reverse grid, our two RaceSpotTV commentators there on the front row. What can they do? Can they keep those positioned in the early stages, or will they indeed struggle? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there's a look then from high up above. There is Miles Coletti. You can just about see it on your screen. That's return number 3A and 3B. Other end of the racetrack, you've got yourself a couple other drivers. Ellis Stevens, Roy Vermerke. You can tell it is murky there. That is the Toyota Bridge. I guarantee it to you. So we can have some fun over the course of this race. It's fine around the championship. The teacher's not going to put some silly little DVD on. Instead, they're going to make you watch 35 minutes worth of entertaining racing for this, the final round of the championship. Let's get you starting good then, up on your screen. There you can see then Paul Smith and Dan Blake, front row of the grid, Ella Stevens in third. Hot contender for this event, Roy Vermerke in P number 4. Patrice Languet in the 5th position, Alex Bristow in 6th. Liam Adkins and Miles Coletti in row number 4. Robert Plumley and Steve Hefford running out your top 10. Ben Palmer 11, Stephen Burke, Pete Newman, Magic Sejkovic, Dan Hunt, Ashley Sutton, Michael Hall. 17 drivers who have finished on the lead lap. They are in reverse order. Matthew Bunn all by himself down in P number 18 because he did not finish on the lead lap. Just 5 seconds then until we get ourselves ready for those lights to go on top the icing.com gantry to get this, the final run of the championship underway. There you can see the front row of your grid. There you can see those engines are a-revving. We are ready for action here, and the final round of the championship will start right now. Slow start by the 21 car. Great start though by the Arseholes machine. They're bunching up down towards turn 1 for the first time. They go through turn 1, up the hill, down into real turn 1. And they've, a car upside down there. End of your field. That is Magic Sejkovic. 2 cars turned upside down. And this is a big incident with 3 drivers at the very start of this event there, Johnny.
Yeah, we have a caution as well, so the race is now, well, so no more incidents for this lap. Magic Sejkovic getting caught up with a bit of, that's not good for the start of the race. It's very tight through those first couple of corners, so I'm not surprised that we saw contact. Sejkovic actually just losing it, so he was probably just retaliating to drivers in front with a bit of a domino effect for the moment, though, so Paul Smith still leads away as the safety car will come out at the end of the lap.
Yeah, number 21 machine of Patrice Languette. There you can see him just falling himself right across the screen there. You had a car upside down and away. The cockpit aluminum car, made en fabrique en français, I believe is the technical term for that one. Magic Sedgevid. We'll get a look at this one on board of him. You can see that car spearing hard on into the wall. That is not what Magic would have wanted at the start of the race, especially after a good round number 1. We'll get ourselves another look at them then, down towards turn 1. And Johnny, well, we can blame the fog. We can blame turn 1 because in normal traffic, you are, in normal laps, you do lift there down at turn 1. But there's an incident ahead of them that started to bunch this field up, and Magic kind of was involved in his own little incident by himself. As I can see one of the Pete Newman cars involved in the mix there as well. CQR cars at the rear of the field, very lucky to have gotten through. But it is worth noting for definite that you can't really blame the weather for this. It is a multitude of incidents. No. Most likely the fact that we had ourselves, that turn 1, you're flat out you're not flat out in normal race conditions. You are at the start of the race. I know what I'm saying.
So it was, as you said, the domino effects. So Liam Atkins having to back off because drivers in front slowing down. It just created a big domino effect. I think it might have even been Stephen Burke who went flying into the air. So definitely a trip to the hospital for him, and he's not going to be well in that car. So I think his race is pretty much done. He's not going to recover from that, and he's currently struggling to get in the pit lane. I don't blame him. He can't even steer that car. That's how much damage he has at the moment, trying to get back in. So, he's improvising here. He's doing a great job of that. He still can't get there, and that's how serious the incident was for Stephen Burke.
Yeah, he's kind of perpendicular, 45 degrees perpendicular to the race. This reminds me of a Mr. Bean movie. You get Mr. Bean over in Australia, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Mr. Bean movie right now. He's trying to do a 3-point turn, Stephen. But you got Magic, by the way, on pit road. You've got yourself a couple of other drivers on pit road making pit stops here. You've had yourselves Steve Heffert, Robert Plumley, both back out onto the racetrack. Leading the way, though, is Paul Smith there. And the lights are on top of the Icing.com gantry down towards the final corner. If you pay attention long enough, you will see Mr. Burke, and he's given up. He's now on pit road. Although, that field, well, there's a big gap that's very spread out behind this Icing.com first safety car right now. Be intrigued to see if those lights will go off this time by. Does look as though that they will stay on. Will they? No, they're out. So we're going to take the opportunity for a moment to take a moment to step aside. We'll take your RaceSpotTV side by side. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Watch this.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There's Paul Smith, front end of your field. Paul Smith is in the RaceSpotTV lounge through the power of the internet. Paul, it's going to be crazy, isn't it?
Hey, it's going to be absolutely mental, and I absolutely love it because it means that I'm at the front.
Yeah.
They can all crash behind me. I don't care.
Good luck. That's number 33, Arsenaul's car then, as he's allowed the pace car to dive in towards pit road. Good strategic manoeuvre here. We can't show you much aerial coverage because of the weather, but you can notice that pace car is already on pit road. Paul Smith has controlled this field. The green flag will be back out. We've lost ourselves 5 minutes of this race because of the caution, but Dan Blake trying to get going, and especially in these conditions, Johnny, it's very hard to visualize the start, especially down in your path, but the green flag is back out, and we are back racing here at Sonoma Raceway, think outside of the oval.
Ashley Sutton still trying to get in front of Liam Atkins, too close. We know drivers won't make it on fuel if they made a pit stop in that safety car period, so everyone now still battling for race position. Paul Smith still leads away there from Dan Blake. Good stuff from him. He's actually breaking away, so Dan Blake and Paul Smith doing a great job at the front. Ashley Sutton, the 2 CQR cars. Here's Ashley Sutton having a look at the driver in front. That's Liam Atkins, too far behind here into turn 4.
Yeah, we're running on board there. Matthew Bunn, he's battling out with Dan Hunt right now. You've got yourself rear end of the field. Magic. There you can see him back out onto the racetrack, but he scored his 1 lap down to your race leader, Miles Coletti, side by side with Pete Newman as they work themselves through the haze. Then there you can see Miles Coletti in the number 226 CQR car battling out with Pete Newman. He's got his own teammate Sutton right behind him. That is how difficult these conditions are. But look inside the car, and actually it's not that bad, Johnny. That's the thing. For us as broadcasters, it's hard to see out of our virtual commentary booth. But for these drivers, it is pretty much okay.
Yeah, you just see the track ahead of you. You're focusing on just that tarmac as well as the drivers in front you're battling with. So Pete Newman as well there in 6th position. He's got a nice little gap in front, a nice little gap behind as well. So he's comfortable there in 6th position. But Ashley Sutton will be hounding him very, very shortly, as I think Ashley Sutton's scraping the wall. He's really gambled with his luck this afternoon. He's really pushing to the limit. Good to see from him. Alex Bristow trying to get in front of Roy Ververke. It's still a 6/10 of a second lead for Paul Smith.
Yeah, and really field as well. Liam Atkins, Robert Plumley, Steve Hefford separated by just 10ths of a second. Hefford, in fact, almost had the chance to move on Plumley last time, but wasn't able to do so. But Miles Coletti and Matthew Bunn, they're scrapping it out for position. Ashley Sutton from nowhere up into P number 7. This is why Ashley Sutton is so dominant in this series. He just finds gaps that other people aren't either A, brave enough to do, or B, don't realise they exist. Sutton, in this race so far, last time past the flag, he was up 9 positions. Ashley Sutton, by the end of this lap, will be up even more. Sutton is a genius at this stage of the race, and he's now trying to put that pressure on Pete Newman. In that Pete Newman number 58 car, moving himself up into the top 6, and Alex Wickstow, the number 88 car, not far behind us. Now Sutton looking down to the inside. Well, that was easy. I can't even be able to commentate about that. It was that easy there, Johnny.
Oh, he just stuck it up the inside, got the traction up into P6, straightforward manoeuvre for Ashley Sutton, and he just has that extra little bit of instinct to make passing manoeuvres, sweeping towards turn 1 as well. So he's currently on trying to hound Alex Bristow in front, who still can't get in front of Roy Ververke. And well, we look at the gap though, the top 2, our 2 RaceSpotTV guys, we put pressure on them. They've broken away from Ella Stevens, so 2.3 seconds
Smith's
in front.
gone wide.
This top 2 duo.
Yeah, Smith went wide down that arsehole's car. This is now Dan Blake then. These are 2 RaceSpotTV commentators. Dan Blake in the number 27 car. He races in real life. Paul Smith, the Northerner, in the number 33 arsehole's car, sponsored by Doritos. Which one of them will come out front? I tell you what, Smith did a very good job there after pushing wide at turn 5 to actually get himself back out. And that total shots car there of Dan Blake just can't capitalise. They are 2 seconds right now ahead of Ellis Stevens. They were fast on that last lap. Then Stevens and Ververke. Stevens will be the critical part of this race, I guarantee, because we know Stevens is incredibly hard to get past. But I think if Stevens, Ververke and Bristow can carry on fighting it out, this will allow it to be a ding-dong battle between Paul Smith and Dan Blake for the race win.
Yeah, if they waste time battling, it's just going to allow the top 2 to break away. Dan Blake still too far behind. Just go for something, Dan. Come on, stick it up the inside into turn 2. No, he's way too far back for that. So maybe at the hairpin, Paul Smith, though, sliding as well. So his setup's a bit more loose, so a bit of oversteer for him through 1 and 2. And Dan Blake much more stable. The different types of driving there as well. As we look near the back of the pack, Dan Hunt, 2 tenths behind Pete Newman.
Yeah, you know what? If I was Paul Smith right now, these Q Optimas, they do have a stereo in their car. I'd just start putting on Pat Benatar. Hit me with your best shot to Dan Blake. Because these 2 drivers, they're having themselves a nice little scrap. Like last time by, they were still faster than Stevens and Ververke, Bristow behind them. And also in the mix, we've got ourselves 2 drivers on pit road. Ben Palmer on pit road. Michael Hall has followed him in. There is Ben Palmer. He's trying to do the long game here, being controversial by coming in as early as he can. Michael Hall is out ahead of him. 23 seconds top for each of those as they are back out onto the racetrack, Johnny.
Yeah, smart move by them, getting out of the way of all the battles. We'll see them come up the front near the end of the pit stop phase. Ben Palmer sliding the rear end, trying to get as much speed as well, warming up those tyres. So the top two they're battling, going to have to keep this in mind as those all, well, Ashley Sutton in the mid-pack as well. So that's going to be interesting to see if Ashley Sutton pounces and goes for this on strategy. Ben Palmer, though, I'm not sure if this is on screen, but he's really sliding the car, power drifting through corners, maybe trying to get those heat into the tyres. He's losing time, though, to Michael Hall in front, so that's going to be interesting. This undercut from these two guys, pitting early with 25 minutes remaining. They'll make it on fuel. Will they indeed take the lead at the end of the pit stop phase?
Yeah, Ashley Sutton was able to get himself past Alex Bristow right out behind the rear of Roy Verke. We're looking at Ben Palmer replay then. This is power steering through turn 3A and 3B. Palmer trying to get some heat into those tyres. We're going on board now with Ashley Sutton. He's past Alex Bristow. He's now past Roy Verke. We just saw as we came back live. Sutton now to P number 4. That one would deserve a replay there, Johnny.
Oh, so Verke almost losing it as he jumped and bounced over the curb there, saving the car. And, well, he lost the position. I'd rather save the car than crash rather than, well, try and keep P4. So, well done to Roy. He made a mistake. He kept it together. He's still in P5. Race is not over for him. He's going to keep it together, though, with 23 minutes remaining. At the moment, though, Alice Stevens slowly catching up to Dan Blake. Dan Blake's made a mistake, I think, and he's lost time to Paul Smith in front, almost a second.
Yeah, so just getting ourselves one of our good old-fashioned Super Slow-Mo replays. They can see Verke just losing that position to Sutton on the outside. Sutton actually did consider on the exit of turn 3A, 3B, trying to actually make that pass on the outside. That would have been just absolutely crazy. Smith has now pulled away, 1.5 seconds a gap between himself and the driver of Dan Blake. Now, the weather temperature here is the thing that gets me the most. It's 100% humidity with fog. In their temperature of 65 degrees, it's cloudy and there's a light wind speed. The weather gods for this really did come up with the hardest conditions possible for this car, because it makes overtaking easy, but it makes getting heat in the tyres very, very difficult, Johnny. And we've got Pete Newman now on pit road from that number 58 Pete Newman car.
So talking about tyres, Pete Newman getting that new fresh set of rubber, 4 tyres on the car, long pit stop for him, 30 seconds. How will he heat up those tyres in this cold, cold day, the foggy day here at Sonoma? Coming out of the pits, is he? Oh, he's going to lose out to Michael Hall and Ben Palmer. So close. That extra long pit stop, that's why it's so important for him. As, oh, wow. So, Pete Newman... I just read what you said. Pete Newman really getting closer. This is important now. He's got a bit of fresh rubber on those top two in front. And, those Michael Hall and Ben Palmer. Now he's just got to really push to the limit. He has the confidence now. He's got to get the confidence quickly, make sure he has it, and then try and make those passing maneuvers on Ben Palmer and Michael Hall.
Actually starting right up behind the rear of Ellis Stevens. Battle for P number 3, P number 4 on the racetrack. And don't forget that really safe driving is a little bit like fornication. All you need to do is make sure you replace your rubber regularly and make sure that you use it responsibly simultaneously. And that's the thing. These drivers are going to have to make sure that they use their rubber responsibly, because otherwise, Sutton down to the inside. He's not being responsible, but he moves past Stevens, turned around there. Sutton, aggressive pass, moves himself up into a podium position. Blake and Smith can now be worried there, Johnny.
Yeah, so Sutton using touring car tactics, giving Stevens the bump and run, and, well, actually not in the terms that I mean it, but yeah, Ashley Sutton into P3 now for the moment. So Paul Smith and Dan Blake, they're all at Stevens trying to pounce back on Ashley Sutton, but he just doesn't have the pace. Sutton seems to carry so much more apex speed, but when Stevens does that, he just has so much more understeer. So you see the different setup and driving styles for the moment. Sutton's still keeping that position away. When will he make his pit stop? That is the key for the moment. We're waiting to see how Michael Hall and Ben Palmer undercut the field. At the moment, though, their lap times are almost identical to the two leaders, Paul Smith and Dan Blake, only a few tenths faster. So for the moment, though, it seems that Michael Hall still has his work cut out to undercut those top two guys.
Matthew Bunn on pit road, of course, he has that distinction of starting from the rear end of this field, being the only retiree out of the last race, onto pit road to make himself his one and only pit stop of the day. We've got ourselves, so Sutton now with an 0.8 of a second advantage over Ellis Stevens, already closed that gap up. by half a second this lap to Dan Blake. Dan Blake sits in P2, Paul Smith in P1, Matthew Bunn on pit road. Just turn our attention back to him and have a look at his pit stop, getting himself 4 fresh tyres, getting himself some fresh rubber. He's come back out onto the racetrack, looking for somewhere around 26 seconds, 26.6 seconds. He is out and away, as is the number 11 car of Matthew Bunn. He's now coming cycles back onto the racetrack, but Plumley though right in the rear of Mars Coletti, battle for P6, P7. And I want to make some form of analogy in a minute. I've forgotten what that analogy is, Shronny, but I'll make it after you've spoken to me.
Yes, I will. As Plumley tries to get up in front of Mars Coletti, you know what, Will? As you're thinking, in this fog, you said that it's not going to hamper the drivers too much. As you said, I mean, you're focusing on that tarmac ahead, and I think everyone will still dice as they did in race 1. So 20 minutes remaining now, the same distance as race 1. Now we see different mentalities trying to shape up as the pit lane phase will end, hopefully. Robert Plumley, though, will try and be very aggressive on Miles Clutsley in front. Clutsley through these blind couple of corners here, 3A, 3B, and Plumley still too far behind. So he could have had an opportunity to tap Miles Clutsley there, didn't capitalize on that.
So, we were talking about safe rubber earlier, and then we get to talk about tapping. And everyone in the UK might know what I mean right now. Robert Plumley is now tapping the rear of Mars Coletti on the exit of turn number 6. But I want to make the analogy here. I promised I was going to do so. Ashley Starton, he's now up into P2 because Dan Blake has made himself an error by the looks of it. Because Dan Blake's fallen well down the field. He's not made a pit stop yet. He is now down in towards P4 on the racetrack. We'll try and get ourselves a replay of this one. What was that?
Oh. So he's completely flipped the car over on the replay. Wow.
Where?
Is that turn 7A? For some reason, turn 4 turns into 7. But anyway, so turn 7A. Wow. So Dan Blake, uncharacteristic. And, I don't know if it is or not, but he's got so much more damage now on that car. He's going to struggle to get that car to the finish.
Yeah, and he's got to get himself into that pit window as well to be good to the end of the race. In fact, he is on pit road as we speak. But this is the incident then from Dan Blake, and the exit of turn number 6 he comes. You can see the car's okay right now. Comes down in towards turn number 7. And, well, that's a shame for Dan Blake. And he literally gets 2 wheels upside down. And I don't think I've seen... That is incredible there for Dan Blake, if nothing else. That is the reason why you do not buy a Dacia Sandero. It's also the reason, apparently, why you don't buy a Kia Optima. Top Gear, if it still existed, they would love that moment. Dan Blake, this is why you do not buy a Kia. Simple as that.
He's probably having a little giggle at that, hopefully, in the pit lane as he's at the front, getting some fuel, tyres, a bit of service to that. He's dropped down the field. His race is done and dusted. He's not going to have any chance of winning this one with that beaten up Kia Optima. the aero just got under the car as well and just helped that turn it over. That's incredible there. But guess what? Ashley Sutton, 1 minute 14.6 last time around. I believe the fastest lap of the race. Hounding Paul Smith now 9 tenths behind, 8 tenths. The gap creeping between the top 2.
Yeah, Ashley Sutton. I was going to make that analogy. I will make it. He's a bit like John Lacey, the last guy onto the brakes. Got a car spun into the wall there. I'm trying to figure out who has it. That's Alex Bristow in the number 88 car. But it does seem to me, in my opinion, that the title loss for late breakers will go to Ashley Sutton because he's so good at what he does. Verke, by the way, is on pit road. Got a bit of crashing going on here. I believe that was with Robert Plumley a moment ago. We'll get ourselves a quick look then with Alex Bristow, figure out what happened to him, then go to Robert Plumley. But this fog, I think that during pit stops it's most difficult because the closing rate's so different. And the fog in itself, you know, it's not that hard until you go off the racetrack. And then it's very difficult to understand what's going on around you. And you get that tunnel vision when you're racing these conditions, Shronny. And that, I think, is the reason why we've seen so many unforced errors here today.
Yeah, certainly. So talking about actually the lead, Paul Smith into the pit lane. So actually focusing on this is so important to where he feeds out. At the moment, Michael Hall is in P8. He's 33 seconds behind Patrice Langley in front, 50 seconds away from the lead. So Paul Smith hopefully coming into his box quite cleanly. We'll see how this pit stop phase goes for him. 15 minutes remaining. This is so important. Let's see if he can retake the lead come the end of this pit stop phase.
Yeah, we're just looking at the super slow-mo replay for the one and only 147 car of Robert Plumley. That is a number 47 fail race on the line car of Liam Aitkins, actually having himself a little bit of a fail. But we've got the driver now of Paul Smith coming out of pit road in just 1 moment's time. Miles Colatti on pit road. Robert Plumley on pit road. They are each getting stops. Alex Bristow is out and away. But for Paul Smith, it's a long stop for him. A very long stop, but he's out and away in a pit stop time of 28.4 seconds. This is now Sutton Trace to lose here, Johnny, because, well, that's 2 seconds longer, at least 3 seconds longer than he should be.
Yeah, so his race, so that's just all gone into a million pieces for Paul Smith. He can't really, it's going to be hard to recover from that on just outright pace alone. He's going to have to do something extra to take this lead from Ashley Sutton, because at the moment Sutton has the pace. He's incredible lap times for someone who hasn't pitted at the moment. Last time around, a 1 minute 15.0, a 1 minute 14.8 the previous lap around. The other guys who are pitted, Dan Hunt is currently setting a 1 minute 14.4. So we see now it's so important. Ashley Sutton needs to make that pit stop. He needs to allow him some time to fight for the lead coming out of the pit lane when he feeds into the pack, the mad scramble of drivers who all want to take this win, the final race of Season 2 here.
Yeah, Paul Smith is under a lot of pressure right now. He needs to push it. And of course, that outlap is where things are going to be the hardest. Atkins on towards pit road then, and that number 47 car, making himself his one and only stop of the day. Ellis Stevens, he's not on pit road yet. He was going at 70 miles an hour, sorry, 70 kilometers an hour. That's why our cameras automatically picking him up. But he is currently scored. Well, there's a look at up above there in the fog. You can't see a thing, Johnny. But he's still scored in P2. Ellis Stevens 8 seconds behind Sutton. That is just how fast Sutton is here today.
Yeah, Sutton a bit fast. Well, actually, Stevens a little bit slow. 16.3 last time around. Does he dive into the pits? No, he doesn't. Continues for another lap around here at Sonoma. And a wonderful hairpin. I love the tyre bundles, how the curb is meant to be the edge of the track, yet they've just given the drivers a little bit extra to push there with those tyre bundles, showing them where the limit is for the moment. So Ellis Stevens still last time around 2.2 seconds a lap slower. Ashley Sutton, a 1 minute 14.2. This is good stuff from him. I don't think we should count him out for the win of this race. Of course not, we weren't. But at the moment, still not making his pit stop. Where will he feed out? Will he feed out in front of Michael Hall and Paul Smith, or will he indeed feed out behind? Who knows?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a band called Salt and Pepper?
No.
Push it real good if you actually started. And that's the thing about that final corner. You push it real good. Anyone who's a Geico commercial fan will know that advert. But Dan Hunt, Michael Hall, battle for position P5, P6. Down towards turn 1 they come. And well, Michael Hall, he's had himself a good race, but not compared to his teammate, of course. He's moved up so much further than him. But Hunt trying to look to the outside there, down towards turn 1. Looks as though the Hunt might do what he couldn't do in race number 1. But then you get yourself Michael Hall pushing Hunt off the racetrack.
Oh, he just shoved him off, so I'm not sure if Dan Hunt will be pleased with that. So Dan Hunt pretty much had an opportunity to go around the outside there. Michael Hall, so Ashley Sutton in the pits now, the leader, so this is going to be important. This needs to be a quick pit stop for the leader. These three still dicing in the pack. We'll update you on that, but Ellis Stevens take the lead. Sutton needs to nail this pit stop phase to take the lead.
So
no, he's missed the box.
Oh no, Ashley Sutton's missing his box. Ellis Stevens is your race leader. Ashley Sutton on pit road. Let's figure out how much time that might have cost him. There you can see the pit stop timer up on your screen. Patrice Languette has gone past. Patrice Languette might need to make another stop in today's event. The pit stop timer continuing then from Ashley Sutton. We are trying to figure out where Paul Smith is. He's not even down at the final corner yet. Ashley Sutton, he's got himself a little bit of a lead. 22.1 seconds. Is out of the way. Yes, it's 74 kilometers an hour, but I don't think that Paul Smith will be anywhere near close enough. Sutton hits the commit cone now. He's back out on array, and Sutton gets himself there. A 7-second, 4-second advantage. I'll take that back over Paul Smith. Great run there by Sutton on those intermediate laps.
Yeah, believe it or not, actually Sutton could have had an extra 2-3 seconds there from that mistake, missing his box. He's still taking the lead. That's how much he's earned it through that first stint, fighting and pushing to the limit. At the moment, Paul Smith is on the back foot from Michael Hall. The CQR and R-Souls battle for the moment. Paul Smith running too deep, and now it allows Michael Hall up the inside, as well as Dan Hunt trying to capitalize on this. So Dan Hunt, 2 drivers. So Paul Smith, with that one mistake, might lose 2 positions. He's trying to go side by side now with Dan Hunt. Too close for comfort, almost making some contact at the moment. No, Dan Hunt, Paul Smith gives him a little bit of room, and Dan Hunt goes into that 5th position. Good driving from them. Paul Smith, though, will be lamenting his mistake there on the entrance into turn 4.
Yep, but every point matters in the championship, and Paul Smith is going to know that one. Well, we've run out of things to talk about. We're going to step aside for just 60 seconds. We'll be back after this. Apparently, though, Matthew Bunn, Heart Sheep. We'll be back in a moment. Side by side.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpotTV for the final round of the Champions of the Futures World Touring Car Championship. And yes, we promised you the music. There you are. Salt and Pepper, push it. Here on RaceSpotTV, YouTube ain't gonna sue us. But that number 11 car then, we've been looking at him. He is currently scored down in the 10th position. That's Matthew Bunn. But we've got ourselves out front Alex Stevens, yet to make himself a pit stop, Johnny. He's going to try and push it. He should be in the next couple of laps, though. With 8 minutes and 12 seconds remaining, he goes, though, for another lap.
He's doing a Kamui Kobayashi Valencia 2010, so going all the way up towards maybe the final lap of the race, making a quick pit stop, bit of a splash and dash, and then coming across the line. Alex Stevens not doing a bad job. His lap times aren't too competitive, but he's staying consistent. That's all that matters. He's not nailing this corner he's coming up to now, turn 2, or turn 3, or turn 2, I'm not sure. The number, I don't blame myself here. The numbers, whoever, person who numbered this track, and no offense to him, I mean, they shouldn't have a job. I'd love that job, and I'd do a better job at it, but anyway. Paul Smith now still close behind. He hasn't dropped back as much. As I say, that loses half a second in one corner. But actually, Sutton, most impressively, 1.5 seconds slower last time around. Is he just having a bit of fun, allowing his teammate and Dan Hunt back into play?
I'm not sure, but Michael Hall is currently scored in the 4th position. They can see the gap between himself and Dan Hunt. The gap out front, well, it's about 1.5 seconds, and last time by is a 1:15.9 for Stevens, 1:15.8 for Langette, 1:14.2 for Sutton. He is pushing it real good. And then Michael Hall in 4th with a 1:14.4, 1:14.5 for Dan Hunt. Paul Smith, 1:15.4. So even if he did come out in front there, Johnny, Paul Smith, he would have been like the poor little bunny rabbit surrounded by a pack of dogs.
Yeah, he would have been clutching at straws really to get a win here this afternoon. But you know what, it's positive as well. He's still up there effectively in 4th position at the moment as we wait for Ella Stevens and Patrice Langley to come into the pit lane. I thought Ella Stevens was. He's not. But look at Dan Hunt not giving up. And I can't switch to him, but Dan Hunt right onto the back of Michael Hall, side by side through the final corner.
There you can see Dan Hunt trying to get himself back alongside, but not able to do so. This came through turn number 1. It isn't flat out. We ride actually along board with that driver of Dan Hunt. We will ride this lap along board with him, Johnny. And he noticed that he wasn't flat out through 1, and that hurt his momentum coming up through turn number 2.
Yeah, what benefits him though is that Michael Hall's in front, going very slow. So Dan Hunt still catches up now, sliding the car. Michael Hall's still there, so Dan Hunt still onto the back. Will he stick it up the inside into 4? Go ahead, come on. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Go into my peer pressure there. So at the moment, Michael Hall still running wide, but that gives him that little extra tense though as we head towards the second part of the lap. So Michael Hall maximizing the limits of the track, and that's allowed him that extra couple of tenths to defend as they head towards the end of the lap. Now they go through the S's and then the hairpin. Can Dan Hunt indeed go side by side once again, maybe even taking that position away from Michael Hall?
Neither Stevens or Langette have come on towards pit road. There are 5 minutes to go. Realistically, there's 4 laps of this event to go, so they've got to come in at some point very soon. It'll be fuel only at this stage of the race. No tyres required. Hunt down to the inside then on Michael Hall. Final corner, side by side. Hunt can't get the drive. Hall survives for another lap.
Oh, he's just almost got the position there. So Dan Hunt, this is painful for him. 2 races stuck behind each of the CQR guys, and he's going to be pretty peed off with that. So Dan Hunt not happy at the moment, at least if I was him. Stuck behind one CQR driver, Ashley Sutton, in race 1, now stuck behind the other, our championship winner of season 2, Michael Hall. Still can't get in front. He's got to. Now this is where you have to be very, very uncanny. You need to start thinking differently to Michael Hall, because he's catching him in corners where he shouldn't. And Michael Hall's breaking away exactly where he needs to. So Dan Hunt now needs to find something extra, almost doing a Dan Blake and losing the car. So the other Dan keeping it together, losing about a second though through that mistake.
Yeah, and you can notice as well that there is some damage to the front end of that car. Actually, to the right-hand side of that car. We'll try and get yourself a decent shot of it as it works itself through the back end of the S's. But there is some damage actually to that number 7 machine of Dan Hunt. And this will affect his handling a little bit, and I think it's affecting his drive off the corners right now there, Johnny.
Michael Hall in the pits. So
again,
actually, yeah. So so Stevens in the pits from the lead, and that's going to allow Patrice Langley, I believe, in the pits as well. So those two making their pit stop. So now actually Sutton takes the lead. Talking about, we'll focus on Dan Hunt's damage in a second, but yeah, Michael Hall into the pits. Maybe just made a mistake with fuel or something. That's well, his race is obviously done and dusted for the day. He's going to fall outside of the top 10.
Yeah, you can see Alex Stevens there, 19.7 second stop for him. So one of the fastest stops we've seen all day. Patrice Langley has completed his pit stop. He's down in P number 9 with a 13.7 second stop. And then you've got Michael Hall coming out of pit road, another 14.6. He's been on pit road, down into P number 14. This driver right now is glad he is a champion. Ashley Sutton is leading this event. But what I talked about a little bit earlier on, Johnny, is the M word, momentum. Michael Hall will be beaten by his teammate in the final round of the championship. That would affect him all the way through to the first round of next season.
Yeah, and yeah. So you really have to keep it together. We know Ashley's been a bit absent as well, and I mean, it's good though for his team. We know Mars Klutzley into the ranks as well for CQR, giving them points when Ashley hasn't been here as well. He's had strong performances, especially at Sebring as well. Ashley, that strong first round really impressed me in at Brands Hatch as well. So I thought he was going to be a force to be reckoned with for the season. He was, but yeah, absent from a few rounds this season. Still in the top 10 in the championship. Goes to show that no matter how many rounds that Ashley is absent from, he's still dominant, he's still up there, and he's still known and acknowledged for how fast he is as a driver.
2-minute warning then, here in the final round of the championship. Ben Palmer on pit road from P number 11. Palmer can't make it then to the end of the race, and that means that number 6 car is going to be struggling towards the end of this event. 139.820 is in lap. He's all the way down in P number 13. By the way, I did say the M word and not the N word. The N word, of course, Johnny, is the word narcissist here in the Championship Futures Touring Car Championship.
Yeah, so everything's a bit of fun. No, we're not looking for trouble. No, none of us here at RaceSpot. As the season coming to a close, it's been a great one. It'll be good to see some comments from the drivers afterwards, what their favourite moment of the season was. And I mean, hats off there to I'm having a look at Dan Blake. Almost did the same thing again. Guys playing with fire this afternoon. I believe Ashley Sutton is in the pits. I might be wrong. So Dan Hunt now in the lead.
So Dan Hunt, after basically spending his entire life looking at CQR gearboxes with a minute of this event to go, now leads the race, starting on pit road. Well, Dan Hunt, congratulations, get yourself a race win. I don't think he expected that one at all there. Dan Hunt, Paramax team, number 7, to the front, 6.5 seconds to Paul Smith, who's back into P2.
Yeah, so Paul Smith, oh, you know what, I don't count this race over. It was at Sebring. Dan Hunt, on the final couple of corners, ran out of fuel. Does he hopefully have fuel to take this win this time around? He's had a strong season. This will almost most certainly give him that second position to Ben Palmer in the championship. Dan Hunt, though, this is the final lap of the race, and well, can he also... Hopefully he has enough fuel. I'm just waiting to see. He comes across the final couple of corners. A good race from Dan Hunt. I believe he does have fuel, and he will take this win.
Yeah, so Dan Hunt works himself then through the final corner. Sonoma, think outside the oval, brought to you by Toyota, but Dan Hunt in a Kia Optima will work himself past the start finish line, and he will win the final round of the second season of Champions of the Future's World Touring Car Championship. Paul Smith, a well-deserved second place for him there. The arsehole getting himself a number 2 with Ellis Stevens in third there for the Paramax team. Pete Newman in the Pete Newman car down in P4 and running out your top 5. Your highest CQR driver is a driver, the 226 car, Johnny, of Miles Coletzi.
So yeah, so the two fastest guys in the team's making very, very embarrassing mistakes. Hopefully unintentional. Sorry, I meant to say. And Michael Hall down there in 12th, Sutton in 14th. Won't take it away from them though. They've drove a perfect season up until this second race. So at the moment though, yeah, it's been a disappointing end to it. But I'm sure they're all here for a bit of fun. There's no real championship battles other than that battle for P2 there with Ben Palmer and Dan Hunt. Dan Hunt taking the win. Good job from him. Good to see him have fuel this time around, unlike Sebring. Just playing with you there, Dan. So great job. And he takes the win and most likely second place in the championship.
Yep, it's been a good race. Let's have a look at your final race results. There you are then. Confirmation, Dan Hunt, 7.5 seconds over Paul Smith. Ellis Stevens in third. Pete Newman in fourth. And running at your top 5 is Miles Coletzi. Liam Atkins in P number 6. Steve Heather, Wilfred Verke, Matthew Bunt, and Dan Blake running out your top 10. Want to know where the likes of Sutton are? Well, they made a little bit of a mess up and they finished outside of your top 10. Michael Hall in 11. He made his second pit stop. Patrice Langet in 12th. Ben Palmer, Sutton, Shakovic, Bristow, Plumley, and Burke. They were your 18 drivers. And Sutton and Hall finishing outside the top 10 in the final round of the championship due to having to come in for a splash and dash at the very end. We will step aside for the last time this season, and then we'll be back with post-race interviews. We got ourselves ready for season 3 after this message. cars are lined up on the grid. The RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another season is now officially in the books. Yep, welcome back then. Post-race coverage of this, the final round of Season 2 of Champions of the Future's World Touring Car Championship here on RaceSpotTV. These drivers have been pushing it real good here at Sonoma Raceway, where drivers are encouraged to think outside of the oval. Will Vincent, Johnny Simone, Ashley Sutton didn't win the race. Johnny, well, it was crazy. Pit stops, you know, we always say in Formula 1, oh, we've got to make it so the pit stops are important. Here, pit stops were important because drivers miscalculated their fuel, as they do every time they get a safety car. Johnny, talk to me.
Oh, apologies. Sorry, I thought you were asking someone else.
No!
But, yeah, so the race... the safety car at the start made things interesting. We had drivers probably making trips to the hospital, big incidents at the start, someone flying about 50 meters in the air, but nonetheless, we had a great strategy play part as well. The CQR guys, a bit of a blunder there. We won't take it away from them. It's been an amazing season, but obviously we have to attack them where we can to put them under pressure. Good win, though, from Dan Hunt. He's pretty much got P2 sealed in the championship, I believe. That will be calculated shortly as well. It's been a very memorable season, a great first season for me commentating, and I'd love to hear what each driver has to say of their favorite moments from Season 2 here.
Well, first driver we're going to talk to, it might well be this race. Paul Smith, you didn't completely cock it up.
Yeah, unlike the first race where I went and binned it on the warm-up lap.
Yeah, this time you didn't, and it was a little bit better. You came home P2. I mean, the raw pace, it was good. It wasn't as good as some of the CQR cars, but A, consistency, and B, you've got a pit guy who actually knows how to use numbers and stuff.
Yeah, I can use my fingers. So it was a good race. I enjoyed that. I don't know what happened behind me, but I wish there hadn't been a safety car because I'd have been away because I just love the car being loose. So on that first lap, it would have been a dream for me. But yeah, I made the most of it, and I only just put in enough fuel because I was close to running out at the end there as well.
Well, you did get yourself to the end of the race. You got yourself P2. Best result of the season so far, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely delighted with that after the disaster of the first race. But yeah, it's taken a while coming. Let's just say that.
Well, it's not long until we start thinking about that word called Season 3. What will be your plans for Season 3? What's your best moment of Season 2?
My best moment of Season 2, I would probably say was my epic overtaking move on Ellis at Silverstone, where I went and hit Ben Palmer into him. Accidentally, I may add. Yeah, and yeah, that was an epic moment. But it's been sort of like just basically the close racing, you know, being able to race close with these guys, and majority of the time it's fair. I've had a couple of scrapes. I'm not mentioning any names, so no, seriously, I'm not mentioning any names. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the series. I can't wait for the new series.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Smith coming home in second place in round number 2 here today. We now have the chance to hand it over to the world's sexiest Australian, and he is stood by with the one and only Mr. Liam Atkins.
Yeah, thanks for that compliment, Will. And Liam, we'd look at that race, very hectic at the start. We know you got into a bit of trouble there as well. Talk us through how tight it is through those first couple of corners here at Sonoma.
Yeah, it was tight, and the cars on cold tyres handle badly anyway. And when one of the JCL cars in front just didn't get a good start compared to mine, and I had to tuck back in behind him and come out the throttle onto the brakes, and then that got me sideways, slowed me down. I think there was a car behind me.
As well as your favourite moment of the season, which we'd like to hear. It's been a roller coaster season for you, but nonetheless, I hope you've had a bit of fun and a bit of memorable moments from a couple races this year.
Yeah, it's been good, and in fact, my first season, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. It's been ups, downs. Probably favourite moment, probably Sebring race 2, where I got 5th because I actually put fuel in the car enough to get to the end. And
Can I ask
probably
a question? Can I ask a question? Is that your chair squeaking, or is that a cute red-headed Welsh girl underneath your table?
Oh man, don't answer that.
I would rather say the later, but it's the first one.
Oh.
But yeah, I had a spectacular crash in Monza as well, so.
Yeah, no, unfortunate. But we know your highest scoring round at Sebring, as you mentioned. Good result from there, and well done on your season. Coming into this round, 17th in the championship. Not there at Alton Park. I'm disappointed in you, but that will be your drop round for the season, and we'll hand it back to Will.
Yeah, one more question. What part of Wales do you live in?
Cardiff.
Cardiff. I'll have to come down there one day, because I've heard some things about kebabs, and yeah. Moving
let me
on.
know, I'll go somewhere else.
He's in the safe part away from Matt Dalton.
Yes, we know that one. Club Beacon Island captain, of course. Well, we've got a couple of people to have a chat with. Yeah, if you're going to talk to me, I'm going to talk to you. But you weren't in the chuffing race. Rusty Laidler, where the beep were you? The quote System of a Down.
I was everywhere. No, I couldn't get back in time for the race tonight, but I just thought I'd come on and then wind everybody up.
Why didn't you commentate with us?
Because I've literally just got back now. Well, 10 minutes ago.
Why don't presidents fight the wars? Why do they always send the poor?
Because they're useless.
Well, there we are. Yes,
because like some people, they go on about having a 5,000 I rating, but it turns out to be useless anyway. And they didn't turn up either.
Oh, would you like to explain who this person is to the wonderful
I know.
It's the person that turned me round at the very start of the season, who kept going on about his I rating all season long.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you head over to our YouTube page, that is if you go to youtube.com/RaceSpotTV, you might be able to find this out by looking at the archives. Every single race that we've ever broadcast on RaceSpotTV, except for the ones that we cancel halfway through, they're available on our YouTube page, so go back and relive the best moments of this season. Rusty, thanks for chatting to us. I'm going to talk to CQR guys right now. I'm going to talk to Ashley Sutton and we're going to talk to Michael Hall. Because of the fact that you haven't got someone who knows how to calculate fuel, you get one interview between the two of you. Who's getting fired?
Well, this is all down to no practice, but yeah, I'm getting fired. It was me, I can't count. Trying to calculate it whilst going around sometimes isn't the best way. But yeah, we pay the price for sometimes not doing any testing, and the fact that we'll use different fuel. We'll use the fuel differently, so I can get away with using less than what Mike can, and I'm not sure on what Miles. Miles does his own thing, as you can see, hence why he finished the race with one stop. But yeah, maybe we should stick with Miles, not me.
But overall, I mean, of course, Mr. Hall, you are the champion, so first of all, congratulations. And coming into next season, the question is going to be, can you hold off that, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible, the guy who's stolen your number one from you for a season, who I think might want it back?
Yeah, well, probably not. If Ash is there every single race, then he's so quick in this car. I'm not sure I would have won this season if he was there every round, but I'll take it.
Well, a championship's a championship, and Sutton, will you be back, and can you beat your teammates?
Of course I'll be back, but obviously real life commitments sometimes get in the way. So fingers crossed we'll be able to complete the season, but it's not easy. Obviously it all comes down to part luck as well, so we'll see what happens.
You didn't answer the second question.
I said it'll all come down to luck.
Can you beat your teammate?
It's not easy. Not easy.
Well, we compared him to Jean Lacey earlier on for being the last of late breakers. Ashley Sutton, however, can win more than one race, unlike Jean Lacey. Johnny, who have we got left to talk to? We've got Matthew Bunn, who was actually pretty good in this race.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound too surprised.
Top
He's
10.
an arsehole at the end of the day.
Yeah, he is.
So, and that's for the viewers. That's obviously not in the way that is. It's our soul. R with the R.
Wait, do I
whatever.
need to go and show some form of visual thing here to make sure that we're not picking
Yes,
on
please.
people?
No, alright, to be honest, guys, and before I switch focus to Matthew Bunn, I'm actually being dead serious. It was halfway through the season when I realized that arseholes meant the other thing as well. So, anyway, Matthew Bunn, 9th position, didn't finish race 1. Good to see you back up there in the top 10. I mean, how did your race go as well? I mean, we know, was it pretty straightforward? Pit stop phase nailed? Was there any interesting moments we might have missed?
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. I knew there was going to be some crashes on the first corner, so I actually left it a couple of seconds on the start before I actually pulled away. And there was a crash, and I managed to take up about 6 or 7 places. And then on the restart, I had really good pace. I nearly finished 6th, but I got rammed on the last corner of the last lap and ended 9th. But I was really happy with that. My pace has got has gotten better over the course of the season. I think the last couple of races I got 10th, now I got 9th. So yeah, I'm happy my pace is improving, and I'm looking forward to next season.
Yeah, just watch that now at the final corner being turned around. Why? Much more significant than you made it out to be. You've lost lots of time from that and came home in a damaged car, as well as your season for you. We know you've had some strong rounds, some not as strong. I mean, your favourite moment of the season for you?
I haven't really got a favourite moment, really. Just the last few races, getting in the top 10, I think, and just overall seeing my pace improve.
Well done to Matthew Bunn. Any extra comments, actually?
No, that's it.
Just
looking forward to next season.
Sorry, it seemed like you're going to say something else. Apologies for that, but nonetheless, a good.
You could have at least thanked your
race.
team.
Yeah, thank the team. Good pit strategy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now
does help,
time
though.
here on RaceSpotTV to provide a one-on-one on how to thank your team. Yeah, I'd like to thank all the guys over at Banshee Autosports for this great race here today. And I might thank myself Ford. I want to thank myself Goodyear for running those amazing tyres that made it that I couldn't actually get myself to victory lane, but can only get myself over to P number 4. I want to thank all my sponsors, Sunoco. I want to thank Coca-Cola. I want to thank Nipers. I want to thank this side and the other. All these people, they just pay us a couple of bucks and put us on the side of the car. I want to thank all those people for being a part of our wonderful team. I also like to thank the little baby Jesus himself, being there in spirit every time we have Sunday dinner before we go racing. Yeehaw! Next up, Johnny, you're talking to Keith Hamilton. Go.
Keith, well done as well on another good race, and well, obviously not there, and your season for you. Yeah, on the spot interviews. Apologies, Keith, but nonetheless, I've seen you throughout the season, and as well for you, your favourite moment, and describe it for us.
My favourite moment was you thinking I was in this race.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I've got to say,
Great race.
my favourite one was at Monza. I really enjoyed that race, but leading a few laps last time around at where were we last week?
I don't know, I wasn't here.
Alton Park.
Alton Park, yes.
Leading a few laps around there. That was quite nice to be at the front rather than the back.
Were you listed as a privateer runner? I might be wrong with that, but are you
That's
still
right.
a privateer runner? So yeah, so looking for a team maybe for next season, trying to get a bit more. You can always learn from other teammates as well as other people to help with maybe setting up the car strategies and different stuff. Or do you think you'll continue on as a privateer for the next season?
Well, we'll see what happens. Rusty's been helping me a lot with the setups and everything, so thanks to him for sharing those with us. But this season was a baptism of fire for me. We started on iRacing in February, so it's just been a case of getting used to the car, and then hopefully next season I'll be fighting for top 10 places.
So good to set realistic goals for Keith Hamilton. Will, that's the key when you open up yourself to a new simulator in iRacing, trying to get used to the car, finding a team. Everything will slowly make its way piece by piece, and that's how you make yourself evolve, and that's how you improve in the sim racing world.
I agree. Now, none of you is going to be able to what I do here, but if you're listening on YouTube, you'll get this one in about 5 seconds time.
It's a kind of magic. It's a kind of magic.
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have the chance now to talk to the one and only Magic himself. And you know what? Next season, I promise I'm going to be a little bit nicer to you. But your race here today, it was pretty good. You finished down in P number 15, apparently according to my stats, which I'm not quite sure if they're right. Been an up and down day. But how's your season been? That's the important question.
The season's been surprisingly okay. I mean, I hope I have retained 10th in the overall standings, which is something I would have never imagined.
If you have,
in my...
just to like fill that in.
Aye, that's cool. So yeah, 10th in the standings at the end of my first season in this championship is just amazing to me. I don't know how I did it.
What's your highs of the season? And if there's one race that you wish you could just scrap and start again, which one would it be?
Both of those were today. My best race was race 1. I finished 4th, and I have no clue where that pace came from. And the one to repeat would be race 2, because I crashed like a right mug on the first corner.
We saw that. It was rather entertaining. At least you didn't fly 50 feet into the air, though.
No, but I got wedged in the tyre barrier.
No,
my wheel did not like it.
Which is even worse, to be fair. At least you didn't have the utter humiliation of trying to do a 3-point turn live on RaceSpotTV with Johnny Simon just laughing at you for the period of about 15 minutes. But next season is upon us. Well, soon. How do you think the season 3 will fare?
I've got no clue. Like, our goal, mine and Liam's, because we're doing it as a team again, is probably to either maintain or improve on what we achieved this season. I know he will want to improve. I'm happy with 10th, but I'll give my best again.
Well, Lowe's always say never stop improving, so never stop improving. Magic in the number 8 machine then, coming home P number 15 in race number 2. Johnny, is there anyone else who we've missed? Yes, we have. It's RaceSpotTV commentator, Mr. Daniel Blake!
Hello,
roly-poly!
You know what we should ask Dan Will about his wonderful, memorable spin there at turn 7?
I think we should get Dan to actually interview himself talking about that spin. Do it now.
Okay.
No, not a spin, actually, a flip. So go ahead.
So Dan, what happened there? So at turn 7, you took the curve and it seemed to roll the car over. That must have been a bit scary. Yeah, it was a little bit scary. I think my suit's now a different shade of brown. But other than that, the car was brought back to the pits and it was good. Go hard or go home, as they say.
That's pretty much all we need from life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is someone playing with their wheel right there? Or is someone just yanking off something that just goes, yow, yow?
That's probably Rusty.
Yeah, it's partly the reason why I'm not here. I'm doing some form of rally.
Be quiet. Be quiet. But yeah, Dan, it's been an entertaining season, of course. Last season you were in the booth, out of the booth. This season, you've been right there in the thick of the action. We're just having a look at there at some of the best moments of your season. Number 27 car, they can see. New season upon us in just a couple of weeks' time. How much, I will ask you the question, how much of what you learn here translates into what you do on the real racetrack?
I think a lot of it's a lot more than people think, because obviously you've got testing, but you don't really have a chance to get into that racing situation. I think that's the main thing I learned is my racecraft. I'm battling with real people. It's different to battling with computer, and what I'm getting from this is translated really well. My first race weekend at Rockingham, I got a podium finish, so hopefully I'll be able to do that on iRacing soon as well, although iRacing is going to be very, very soon. But yeah, so I've got my next race at Brands Hatch on the 17th, I think, so 17th of May, so hopefully get another podium finish there. But iRacing is invaluable to my development as a real driver. I think Ash will agree as well that it is a really good learning tool for it.
That's on.
Yeah, fantastic. Can't fault it, especially if you haven't been to the circuits. They just need to expand, I think, on the circuits, get a few more in, and then.
Rockingham's coming! My favourite oval in the world! The real Rockingham! Not that part of crap in North Carolina! The real Rockingham! The one that's got the word Motor Speedway after it! It's coming!
You mean the Rockingham Oval that they can't no longer use as an oval because the track's not strong enough to support the cars?
Yes! That one!
Yeah, that's typically British, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I've got so many people from Carolina who are going to kill me now because of the fact that I said that our Rockingham's better than theirs. Well, you know what? You might have won a war against us, but we still got the better rival. Final thoughts on the season so far. Final thoughts on the season, actually, because the season's no longer so far. It's over.
I didn't quite hear you because I've got someone's wheel spinning around.
What are your final thoughts on the season, Ochap?
Sorry about that. Right, I think it was an all-round good season. We had a improvement on the grid from season 1. We'd like to continue that over to season 3, or even sustain. But yeah, we've got a few new things in place. We've now got driver licenses, so we will be bringing in a point system. The drivers will have a maximum of 10 points on their license. 10 points, 12 points on their license. If they use them 12 points up, they will then be banned for the remainder of their license period. Each license period will be 3 months, so it's down to the drivers to keep the licenses clean and keep the racing fair. So we shall be, well, it should be interesting, shall we say.
Any development on tracks for season 3?
We've had a little bit of a change up. Each round is going to be in a different country, so we're not going to be multiplying up on the tracks in the same country. Yeah, we've got each round is in a different country, so we are going back to the WTCC rules.
Wait a minute. So we're going to have a race in Japan,
Yes, we are.
Canada, the United States,
Yep.
Italy, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Australia.
Australia, yeah.
I've got 3 more that I've got. One more that I've got to figure out after
You've
that.
only
It's
got to go
8
8.
rounds of the championship.
Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil. There we are.
Yeah, you're not far off there. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go all around the world. So as long as you boys can keep up with us.
Around the
Your commentary.
world, around the world.
We'll be good.
Yeah, and apparently it might even be here on RaceSpotTV. We'll talk about that one after, shall we?
Yes, we shall do.
Yeah. Shall we wrap up this broadcast, Johnny? It's been a great season.
No, very memorable season. It's been so entertaining to watch. I'm surprised that we don't actually have more viewers watching this because it's some of the greatest racing we've seen in touring cars here at on iRacing itself. It's good to see a lovely bunch of drivers fighting and dicing it out. Hopefully that license system make things fairer for the next season, but it doesn't make things any less interesting. We'll wait and see how that plays out. We look at the different tracks as well for season 3. I mean, I cannot wait to kick it off. It's been lots of memories for me, Sebring being one of them. A very entertaining race there. The fuel on the final lap, as well as Brands Hatch as well, was so hectic with all the drivers there in the first race. Lovely to see, and I can't wait to kick it off again in season 3.
That one will commence in just a couple of weeks' time. We'll be here live on RaceSpotTV. You know what, Johnny? We are literally 40, 50 hours away from the favourite time of my year. You know what it is?
It's not Oktoberfest, is it, Joe?
No, it's not. That's Australian. That's something only for you Australians, alright?
Yeah.
For me, it's the month of May. We are 50 hours away from the month of May. The greatest month of motorsports in the world. Yes, Le Mans not in May, but you know what? We can think about it in June. It's awesome in its own right. But we're entering the month of May, and of course here on RaceSpotTV, we've got everything that you can ask for. We've got ourselves Skip Barber Racing. We've got ourselves the RaceSpot.com Indianapolis 500. We've got ourselves Endurance Racing. We've got ourselves the RaceSpot.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Touring Car Racing. There's nothing more that you can ask from the world's greatest sim race broadcaster, as we going to say goodbye for another season of Champions of the Future's World Touring Car Championship. For some reason, I'm starting to flash multicolours. I've been Will Vincent, that is Johnny Simon. We shall talk to you all next time. Bye!
Bye-bye!